5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Hello, all, and let me pop a Viagra in. You know I always have this trouble. Here we go. I was so organised as well, and it's all gone tits up. Story of my life. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good day, goodbye, good night. Hello, wherever you are in the world. One of those should and probably will apply to you. Welcome along. This is Leicester Till I Die TV, and as you can see, it is the weekend show. And for once, we're going to enjoy it. We are, because how often have we not enjoyed this show? 7 weeks to be precise, if any of you are following stats, because we've not done the show for 7 weeks. I think it was getting to us, but it's back from outer space. We've turned around and we've taken that look off our face. This is the weekend. Well, I've lost it today. I don't care. It's the weekend roundup show. Tom's here. Let's get going. Good evening, sir. How are we doing?
Yeah, a lot better this week, eh, Chris? You know, I mean, last week we rightly postponed the show and focused on Leicester matters because things were looking remarkably ropey last week. But here we are on the Monday afterwards, and we got 3 points. Who would have thought this would have happened?
A week's a long time in football. Well, they say it's a long time in politics. It's a bloody long time in football. And I tell you what, it's even bloody longer if you're a Leicester fan. But can I just say, we both scrub up very well, don't we?
We do. It's worrying what AI thinks I look like, isn't it? You know, yeah, it shows what I could do, mate, if I made more of an effort.
I tell you what, I don't go down to the gym. I just use AI, and I look at it and I think, yeah, it's better than a mirror.
Exactly. It's the modern way, Chris, isn't it? Get the computer to make you look good, and then in reality, you don't look anything like the actual thing you are on Tinder.
Well, let's be honest. This is very true. And let's be honest with you. How often do we sort of wake up in the morning and feel like, you know, feel like, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and look in the mirror and look like Benny Hill or somebody? We don't look like we think we are anyway.
Not at all. It's like reviving things for me in the morning. It takes a lot of caffeine to get that engine started, Chris.
Yeah. Ray is in. Good evening, Ray. The sun is shining. The promise of a new week. All is well. It's funny. It's funny what a little week can do to everybody, isn't it? Paul is in. Hi, Paul. How are you? Ronald is in. Good evening, everybody. I tell you what, Ronald, I bet you're having a happy meal.
Well, he's here all week, everyone. This won't be the only show.
Can I just say, he's not up there with me Anne Boleyn joke, I will admit, but, you know, I just thought I'd throw it in.
You see an opportunity for a joke, Chris. You've got to grab it. There's no guarantees with these things. They're going to be good. Trust me, as someone that knows as a comedian.
Exactly. TM is in. Hi, TM, and welcome along. Very brave, our resident Spurs fan, and nobody have a go at her. She is so welcome in the show. She's a good friend of the channel, and she is always welcome, and was very magnanimous on Saturday as well. And I nailed my score prediction. It's all sunshine and blue sky. Talking of blue skies and score predictions. What did you predict, Tom?
Well, I was very pessimistic. I went for a 4-0 scoreline, and it wasn't to Leicester City, Chris.
Well, some of us some of us went 2-1 to Leicester.
Yes, I wonder who that might be. And also, you called the Fulham loss, didn't you? Is that 2 in a row you've got exactly right?
No, I didn't call the Fulham. I called the Fulham. I called it a loss, but I didn't get the score right.
Fair enough. You were close, though.
I went 3-1 to Fulham, so it was the 2-goal difference. But somebody said on the watch along that I only talk about the prediction show when we're doing well, or when I'm doing well. Of course, I bloody do. Do you know what I mean?
I would say when you're the host, that's your obligation, isn't it? You get to pick and choose what you say, when, and why.
100 million%, mate. 100 million%. I tell you what, I haven't watched Match of the Day in many, many weeks. I actually watched Match of the Day 2 last night, and we were on first.
We were. I was surprised as well, but maybe that's more the turmoil at Tottenham, and I'm sorry to TM in the chat for that, but I'm sure we'll get to that in due course as well, Chris.
You were probably right, actually. And a lot of people in America were saying that they were concentrating on the fact that Tottenham lost more than the fact that Leicester won.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because both teams went into it with sort of a heavy vibration around them about what results are on the pitch at that time. And I think the surprise for us as Leicester fans, briefly, before going too much, is we thought that we were in such a worse shape than Tottenham, and we've been proven completely wrong.
Well, we often are. We often are. Look, I know we're going to talk in a minute about Facebook, but I just want to. We're going to look at the news first of all. So let me just catch up with myself, which is never easy to do. And we'll swap to that one, and we'll look at the sort of news headlines. And TM might be able to help us with this. Booed off the pitch, and I'm not talking about Leicester this time. I'm talking about Tottenham. Has time run out for Ange?
Well, I tell you what, Chris, I was shocked in the post-match looking at the interview with Son in particular. And they look a defeated team. They look exhausted mentally, physically, the works. They look like they're in different places now. I'm not one for sacking managers particularly, but I feel Tottenham have got to be a little bit wary now because they're getting dragged into something they might not be able to get out of. And we've walked into a relegation dogfight before and not got out of it. So if I were them, I would say it's probably time for a change, actually. I think it was that bad of a result that they're going to need to freshen things up.
He's a likable character.
He is. Yeah, this is true.
It's probably one of those things where people from other teams like him more than people from his own team. Because obviously we see him as this, he always talks straight, says it as it is, as a laugh and a joke. But it can be very annoying, can it not, when it's your team and you're thinking, it's like people going like, well, look, you sacked Claudio Ranieri and he just won you the league. But, at that point, we were in dire trouble.
Well, exactly. It's interesting other people's perspective, and that's why my perspective changed, Chris, because before we played Tottenham, I would have said I wouldn't sack Ange in the slightest. I think there's enough there to show that he's making good progress with them. But I was completely shocked by the events at the stadium itself, like you say, with the fans. They've obviously got a similar problem behind the scenes that we thought we have with the ownership, perhaps at times with fans' noise, which caught me by surprise completely. And it really affected the game for them, I think, as well, Chris. I think it sapped the energy out of the stadium, and it really took away that chance for them, to be able to get an equaliser from it. So, difficult times for them. They're going to have to make a bold decision, I think.
They are, and I think most of it, as is at Leicester at the moment, I'm just waiting for something to load. Here we go. As something is at the moment, it's not necessarily directed at the manager.
No, it's more off the pitch, isn't it? I mean, Tottenham have paid for this new stadium, haven't they, and all the rest of it. And they've kind of done what Arsenal did a few years previously. And I mentioned this on the watch along the other day for the Tottenham game. But they've kind of put themselves in that position where they're paying off this complete stadium, and they've sold Harry Kane and all the rest of it. And there's now decisions like we're asking about what are we doing with our training facility we spent all this money on. The same goes for Spurs, except it's a case why have we done this and now we can't really compete, and we're slipping further down the table and getting ourselves into big trouble. And also, mate, it's a credit to the Premier League, because for all the financial stuff we always moan about and I get annoyed about, it is so competitive. Tottenham are really in the trouble here.
Yeah, the problem I have with fans, and like I say, I'm comparing that because we've been in the sort of same situation, especially with the chants and everything. What are they want Daniel Levy out. I get that. Our fans want Rudkin out. I get that. Manchester United fans want the Glaziers out. Arsenal fans want whoever the Kroenkes, whoever it is, out. It goes. It's not really going to happen at that sort of level, is it? I mean, how long did it take Newcastle to get rid of Ashley? And in fairness, Ashley actually allegedly wanted to sell.
Well, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you can do it. I mean, like Manchester United, I felt came close, didn't they, when they were kicking off and protesting and all the rest of it. But it takes a hell of a lot of effort, Chris, and also in ways we probably don't like protesting in order to make these things happen. Because like you say, the power does sit with these people. But by the same notion, I'm not against them being criticised, because I love the Leicester owners, for example. I do. I think, I love Top. But I think he's not without criticism, because there's things that could be done better. And if someone's not bringing it to light, then we're just ignorant with our heads in the sand, aren't we? Like Nigel Pearson would say. So you've got to be able to take it as part of the gig. It's like that horrible but very true saying, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Yes. And I'm guessing, look, it will only become, sort of untenable if there's no money there to be made for them.
Well, exactly. That's it.
Otherwise, then they're not going to go anywhere, are they, really?
No, I'm slowing up a bit here, mate, so I'll let you talk for a minute while I sort it out.
Yeah, you are. Yes, you are. Well, while you're just doing that, what I'm going to do is just go on to this next slide, because this is something I wanted to say. Now, I posted it in the chat on the watch along, a similar sort of thing. In fact, I can show you what I posted during the watch along at the end, which was a bit of fun, because basing it on what he had said during the election 4 years ago, when he lost, was stop the count, etc. Now, I did that, and as the American that is in, Jim, one of our co-presenters, whether he's a Trump fan or not, I don't know. I've not asked him. I don't know what his political views are. I have no interest in anybody's political views, to be honest with you.
Nope.
It is now get ready for this, a joke, right? It's a funny. Now, you could argue whether you like his policies or not, whatever. And I am dead against any sort of political talk in the chat, both on the show and in the Facebook group and on any posts in any of social media, anywhere. But I put that up in the thing as a joke. As you can see, stop the league, because that was what he was saying, stop the count. We're 17th, we're safe. Make Leicester great again, which is obviously a play on his Make America Great Again. A little bit of humour. Might not be your sense of humour, and I accept that. Everybody's humour is different. Basically, my group, my rules. That's the way I look at it. If you don't like it, I'm going to be blunt here. Fuck off. Because I put that up, and everybody says, don't you disgrace the Leicester shirt by putting him in it. Don't you, these are probably those same people that if I was to put, Sam Fox in a heyday, I'm trying to think of a beautiful woman, and
Rachel Riley. Rachel Riley's got a bit of a rep around Leicester fans, yeah.
I did a thing when we got promoted out. I did a countdown every week of how many points we can do, whatever. Nobody complained about me using Rachel Riley because they were probably wanking off to it. But it's a joke. It is a funny. Now, like I said, maybe not your sense of humour, and if you don't like my sense of humour, you've got an option. The door is there. I'll open it for you. Walk out. I've just said, as somebody has literally posted, and I have to read this because this is unreal. If I can find it, of course. This is it. And I'm going to name him Mark Baker on my Facebook page. This is a ridiculous post. If we're going to buy a new player, please inform me what position he plays, who we are signing him from, and approximate fee. Otherwise, how can I work out if he's going to be a valuable addition to our squad? Now, a little bit, he may be joking back. Who knows?
Yeah, I was going to say maybe, yeah.
But then again, you would normally say LOL or put a little winky.
I think you've hit something very important there, Chris, and that is that it's about intent, isn't it? I mean, I know you man to man. I've known you for a while now. We get on really well. I know your intent is never to upset anyone. I know your intent is to have a laugh, create a great space for a community to come and enjoy themselves. And it's unfortunate that, it's been misinterpreted. I'll say to anyone, when you're using text rather than speaking to people, that text can be misinterpreted a hell of a lot easier than when you're talking to someone. Because with the British language in particular, we've got a beautiful language where we can use words for different contexts. We can say the F word in a very celebratory way and also in a very antagonistic way. It depends on how it's read. So I would just say to people that I personally hope no one took offense to it because, I've been made jokes about Trump on this channel and hoped it hasn't gone too far myself, like the politics thing. But it's all meant to be in good jest. And we hope that people here with us want to be involved in good jest.
Exactly. Wayne said there, good job we don't joke about hair transplants, Chris. I tell you what, I would have his hair transplant any day. Give me his hair. I haven't got any. You know what I mean?
Would you like some of my beard? You could be ginger, mate.
Say, we are talking about having a meet-up, aren't we?
We are.
If you don't appear on the next show, come and dig up the graveyards around Poole, guys, because I may have knocked him off, chopped his beard off, and just stuck it on my head. You know what I mean? Hey, I'd be getting away. I'd be revisiting my punk era, wouldn't I? If I put it straight down the middle like
I'll put it this way, mate. You ain't got to beat me up for my hair. If you want some, I got plenty of it on this head. You can have some.
Ray says, "Good for you, Chris. This is how these tolerant people are." I hate wokeness. I hate wait notice. Wayne says, "How dare you use that word, tolerant, Ray? I'm offended." Not. And yeah, as Prashant said, going off topic, we're going to come on to that in a second, actually. But I know you want to talk. This leads on to what you wanted to say about a certain referee, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we've had a lot about this, haven't we, this weekend? We'll get to the game later briefly, but we're not going to have much time to talk about it at the time. But obviously, there's been a lot of abuse sent out there, I believe, to Michael Oliver. I hope I'm getting his name right, because imagine if I'm talking about the wrong person. But Michael Oliver, who Wolves and Arsenal, there's been a lot of abuse sent to him, like privately and his family about it. I'm going to be honest here. His performance was shocking, and we'll go into it later. But there is levels of what we do and how we behave. And I just wanted to put out there, I think some of the things that we have seen have been pretty hideous and needs to be stopped.
Yes. Look, I mean, I was actually watching a little piece on TikTok earlier, and it was basically showing from about the 96th minute, because of course there was 7 minutes of added time on in our game. Yeah. And the guy is giving the referee abuse. Fucking hell, ref, come on, blow the whistle, time's up. And I think we played about 98 because obviously there was a bit of wasting time within those 7 minutes. And I'm one for, look, you play until you think that the whistle's gone. And yes, I wanted it. And if anybody watched the watch along, I'm like that. I don't watch it, So I'm the same as everybody else. Blow your whistle. But what I would like to think of with that guy, because once the whistle went, he was celebrating and what have you, is yes, have a go at the referee while he's on the pitch, but don't take it further. And I've seen, people that turned up. I used to manage my son's football team, and I've seen the abuse that they get from parents and what have you. They expect a little bit of it. Of course they do.
Of course.
The bastard in the black, and where's your pen? But at the end of the game, leave it alone. David Coote's an exception. He is an exception, but there you go. Look, the ladies won. Can
I quickly tell you a story to end off on that before we go to the ladies, Chris? It's just from
I'm not going to the ladies because can I just say I use the gents like everybody else does. I just want to make that point clear.
Let's be careful. We've already offended a Facebook group today, Chris. So let me just take it back in another direction. But no, I would say that you've raised a very good point there. When the game is in play and you're on the pitch, banter's banter, right? I used to do stewarding work for football matches. So I've done security stewarding work at Colchester, QPR, a few places like this, right? I did Colchester when they were playing Millwall. And I was stood in front of the away end with long hair, literally down to probably beyond my shoulders. Being a steward, and of course they attracted their attention to me in the second half. They were chanting at me, "Where's your boyfriend at?" and stuff like this, and getting quite antagonistic. But I took it on the chin and blew him a little kiss back, and of course I got it big time from the fans. But I realised it was part of what I was going to get, looking the way I do and being in that job as well, and coming against Millwall. And at the end of the game, once the whistle had gone, one of the chief Millwall chaps came down to me and shook my hand and said, "Well done, mate. I thought you handled that really well. Thank you very much. Had a great day." That's how you handle it.
It's banter, isn't it? I mean, I can remember watching football in Britain one morning. It was after England had played Germany quite recently. And it was a case of, well, we were booing the national anthem and we were, singing, we've shot more planes. And, it's banter, mate. I mean, this guy is not even a football commentator. He's never known him talk about football. How does he know what the hell he's talking about? It's all, like I say.
Also, we've got to be slightly considerate of what we're like culturally, because we are different to North America, for example. In North America, they wouldn't do it in national anthems. It's not part of their culture. It never has been. But over here, it has been for some reason. I'm not saying it's right, but you've got to appreciate it's
not just in the UK, within Europe as well.
No, exactly. Yeah, Europe. I classify it as Europe. Yeah. Anyway, carry on, mate.
Anyway, the ladies have won as well. I mean, there's only one going down from the Women's Super League, and that looks like it's going to be Palace, who got promoted last year. It always seems to be that whoever gets promoted at the moment goes back down. And I think at the moment, as long as we are finishing 11th, I think we can be happy. I've got to say, what a first goal, though, for Liverpool. I don't know if you saw it at all.
I confess I've not seen the highlights.
I didn't know.
I was squatting up today on the Premier League.
I just caught it because there was YouTube, one of my YouTube rabbit holes. And it was one of those. Do you remember when Chris Wood, who is now obviously playing for Forest, played for us and he scored against Watford?
The ball hit him in the face.
Exactly, and it went in. Yeah. It was an exact carbon copy of that. The Liverpool player was so embarrassed. Bless her, she didn't celebrate. As I don't think Chris Wood did, but no.
I think it's hard to celebrate when you got a concussion.
Yes, but well done to the ladies. 2-1 wins for both of us. So, and we are as well. Let's talk Leicester, shall we? Here we go. Jamie Vardy and El Canoes pile more misery on Spurs and Anne's Postecoglou. Sorry if you are still with us, TM. Look, first of all, wasn't the post-match show nice for once?
It was bizarre, wasn't it, mate? It was really nice. It felt like I had a nice party vibe, and it was really nice to be in a position where, like, hope before was quite slim, I felt, wasn't it? The week before, we kind of lost that last bit of hope. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like we've had the blooming, defibrillator put on us and we're back.
Yes.
What a 90 minutes for us. Superb.
And look, I have got to say, I have put so much weight on since Sunday evening because I've ate so much humble pie. It is untrue. Rude proved us all wrong because I don't think we could find a fan that's out there that would have said, "Oh, what a good team selection."
No, we were all very worried, weren't we? But like we said in the pre-match, we said ultimately we're rolling eyes whoever goes out there at the minute. We're more concerned about, is this tactically going to stick or is it actually going to get us into trouble? But fair play to Rude. He stuck by his guns when the whole world was getting against him a bit there last week. And he rightly deserves all the humble pie because what a performance, really. I think, just the guts we had, Chris, was a lot better.
Indeed. And I mean, he's come out and he said, we won't disappear, knows that Leicester's worries, in crisis won't disappear with one win. And like we said, one swallow doesn't make a summer, but it's a start. And he would have struggled, I think, if he'd lost that, that would have equalled our worst ever run, which went back to 19 and 28 or something like that. Ridiculous. And when you manage that at the start of a new, and he has got this thing that it is being compared to Steve Cooper.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Steve Cooper, like it or hate it, has had the better record as Leicester manager.
This is it, isn't it? I tell you what's interesting for me, though, Chris, when I was thinking about it today, and I'm going to probably get slammed in the chat for this, so I better have a thick skin. But this Rude story could maybe go from being that story to being a Rude and O'Neill story. Because, of course, what happened when Martin O'Neill first came into Leicester?
Yes.
He really struggled the first few games to get us moving, and there was talk of him getting the sack. And all of a sudden it clicked, and the players started buying into it. He had a few fallings out with people. Rude's had that by all accounts. And now it's looking like that's done us some good. And we're looking like we're now moving a bit more positively forward. So I'm hoping that'll be the story we talk about going forward more than looking back on Cooper now, because Cooper's in the past.
Well, I have said on this show, and I think I said it whether it was on Talk Sport or the BBC, one of them. I think it was the BBC. That's Football. Is it called That's Football? I've forgotten already.
Yeah, the one with Brighton, yeah.
Yeah, the football show. And I said three words will turn a bit Martin O'Neill.
Yes.
And we live in hope that was going to happen. We live in hope that we're looking at another great escape. Those are all the things that we are hoping for. But look, we don't have to worry about the 8 in a run.
Nope.
And I think the thing as well is this was such an important game for us because not only did we win, but everybody around us, with the exception of Everton, who of course were up next, lost.
Exactly. It was a perfect time to do it. And also, Chris, there was that pressure in my head that Ipswich won this game, and like we're looking at the teams that are 3 points ahead of us now that are around our level, and you go, well, they're getting points there. There was more pressure on us to get points there, right? So it was just nice for me as well. We managed to step up to the plate on that because, like I said at half time, they weren't like Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace put up a lot more of a defensive fight than Tottenham did. Tottenham left us space, and we just had to make sure we took advantage of it. And I'm just proud we did. And character, marks to Rude, because sometimes I think we worry tactically going into this. But beyond tactics, if you've got a really strong character, that'll get you a long way in life. And that's the main reason we hired him, no doubt. So I hope that carries on and we can see that, really lift us.
Yeah. Just to say to Wayne, from where I'm looking, your name is highlighted as well. If you've got a spanner next to you, it doesn't mean that you are a spanner, although obviously, Wayne, that is an option with yourself. But that means that you are a mod. And if you have the sort of, I think like an S or something next to you, that means that you are a member, if you like. So you are paying. You are paying to be a member of the channel. That's what they are. Ray says the keeper's performance saved us, but the keeper was amazing. And I think you look at the end of the game, 3 people got what I would call extra tight hugs off Rude. That was Stolarczyk, Vardy, and Knuth.
Which I completely agree with. They were the 3 top players on the day, weren't they? And it was my worry with Jacob was that I knew he was a good goalkeeper and I knew he could pull off some great saves and all the rest of it. But I wanted to see more of a presence, Chris. I wanted to see more of a voice. I wanted to see someone that was, chomping a bit. And he approached the game with a lot of bravery. If we compare it to other goalkeepers we've had in goal at Tottenham games before, not trying to mention Danny Ward again, but they've turned up and we've been utterly hammered and we've looked out of sorts, But I think he really took accountability and that's what we need. So well done to Jacob, and he's completely right to be in that.
You got it right. You called him Jacob before, and I was going to make a comment about that. Was
sorry, Jacob. Yeah, my apologies. Yeah, I do that. I sometimes say the wrong thing.
Jacob screen crack. Yeah, we'll move on.
I grew up a Murray Walker, so I'm going to say the wrong thing and hope I get away with it. I loved Murray.
Oh, you got to love a bit of Murray Walker, haven't you?
The greatest.
I'm not saying this because I love Vardy, but I think Vardy's goal was I think you're trying to say it was not as easy as it looked. Yes, it would have been embarrassing to miss it, but I think he had to get the ball under control and score. I have to say, it's amazing because after the game, and I'm like any other when I'm talking on the game, and that's what obviously takes my thoughts into the post-match and half-time reviews. It did look an easy sitter, but then you see different angles in the replay, But then after the game, you see even more different angles. And as it came across, it actually almost was behind him, wasn't it? It kind of, I don't know if it went through his legs or whatever, and he had to kind of come back. So, yeah, I have to say, it would have been embarrassing for him to miss it, but it wasn't as easy, I think, as we look.
No, I think both the first Tottenham goal and the first Leicester goal had the same thing going for it. The ball in was perfect. It was in such a dangerous place where the goalkeeper's stuck between two minds, and both those goals were a credit to the pass.
Yes, yeah. He was so commanding. Yes, he was. Wayne, who isn't woke, I've got to say, been called worse, Chris. Cheers to that. And Wayne, apparently Stelarczyk was in Shearer's team of the week. Yeah, I saw one person's team, and there wasn't one Leicester player in it. Somebody's team of the week on whether it was BBC or not, I don't know. But he deserved to be there. He had good. And look, looking at the game, and here's sort of the stats for the game. We deserved it. I mean, look, Tottenham are the home side, and I'm sorry, I don't get this fact that they've got 10 out injured bollocks. We have injuries. We've got two of our best players.
Tell Bournemouth that.
Yeah. Bournemouth have got 9 players out, and
they
they're
won 5-0.
And we'll come on to that in a second. But exactly. And I'm sorry, if you are one of the so-called big six, then, and it's the same when Manchester City got all these things. Oh, I'm sorry, you've got injuries. Suck it up. You know what I mean? I don't buy into that at all. I'm sorry, but we've got the same old. I mean, look, possession. We know that doesn't really count. We won the league with no possession, didn't we? It's not often that we see the XG is as good as it is. And shots, well, they had 15, but they were throwing everything at us at the end. But we had 13. Yes, only 3 of those are on target for us. Sorry, we had 12, sorry. Only 3 of those were on target, but of course 2 of those went in. The thing that still concerns me is the second little circle in the middle, and that's touches in the opposition box. 23 for Tottenham, 15 for us. Now, don't want to labour this too much because we won, so let's enjoy it. But we do need to get in the box more. We do. I don't think I've seen a game where we've actually had more than the opposition.
Yeah, agreed. And also, we shouldn't be naive to this, Chris. This Everton team we're going to be facing next aren't going to give us half the space this Tottenham team did. So you can't rest on your laurels here and go, oh wow, we did really well, and all the rest of look how good we are. It's a one-game scenario, isn't it, where it favoured us and we took advantage of it. So, like you say, yeah, I think we still need to look at this and still need to work at it. I think the big step forward for me against Spurs was in the first 3 or 4 minutes. It's the first time I've really seen us through a few games get on that front foot and drive towards that box, which was really starting to worry me, because if you can play this system as much as you want and pass the ball around the back as much as you want, but you're keeping the game towards your goal and you're creating more problems for yourself. So I was a lot happier seeing that, and that's what they need to do more going forward. Like you say, we need these stats to go up.
Yes, we do. Indeed, we do. I've got to say a mention for, and I put this out on social media. We have our man of the match and we have our team performance, which we talk about in our post-match, but the official one comes from Alan, who's at the game and therefore conceded for things. And he went for El Canouse, who was most of our second choice for man of the match, and a team performance of 7, which I felt may have been a little tad harsh, but look, he was there. So like I say, I do sort of think he sees more than we see on the TV screens. For once, I'm going to say that Rude, I'm not going to go mad at his substitutions, because I was sat there thinking, don't make any, because sometimes a substitution can end up being negative.
Yeah, it was funny, mate, wasn't it? Because I mentioned at the end of the post-match yesterday, it caught me by surprise how he changed the shape and went 5 at the back at the end, because I didn't think he had it in him, because he wouldn't consider it as a starting formation. And then I got anxiety from it, like you say, because I'm like, oh no, we're just going to park everyone behind the box and just invite pressure for the last 20 minutes or whatever it was. So yeah, that was a little bit interesting. And we have still questioned Rude's substitutions at times. It paid off this time. But I would like to see something a bit more expansive tactically still. I still don't think we can rest on our laurels here and go, we've done the job, let's celebrate, lift the trophy, and yeah, great 3 points. I still think we need to be realistic and pessimistic slightly about it and encourage more going forward, which is a little bit more, forward thinking still.
Yeah. Prashant says, I heard Rude and Bilal weren't getting on before the game. I think you'll find it was actually Rude and Facundo, Renete, that weren't getting on, which is why I thought he may not come on. But maybe Rude's not as stubborn as we're making him out, and he will play it. And as said, I did our oh no Cody. But what I want to shout about, and it's part of my humble pie, and that is Dufkova Reid. For those of you that will remember the show I did when Super Cooper got sacked, we remember I'd reviewed all the players, so I wanted to take a snapshot of how we felt about the players then to compare it to how we're going to feel, about them at the end of the season, depending how it goes. And I wasn't overly impressed with Dufkova Reid. I think he did slightly better than Eduardo, which is probably, or Edward, it's probably no great thing, that is it? But I've got to say, credit where credit's due. 19, I don't know, he may have come off towards the end, I can't remember. But, he played a good portion of the game, set up both goals. I mean, it wasn't just one. He set up both goals, was involved. I take it back. What probably the best signing of the summer.
Well, what I liked about him was, Chris, he reminded me of Soumare in that Soumare will drive into space, and Decordova Reid drove into space, which is what we needed him to do, and it allowed the game to open up for us a bit more. So I think he put in a really good performance. There's one criticism I have of him, which is very harsh perhaps, but he is partly responsible for the first goal. He could have tracked back and he stopped, and it allowed Porro to get the cross in. If he'd kept running that extra yard, it might have put him off a little bit, but maybe I'm being picky there. I get a problem with Soumare now and again. I go, God, that's the one little thing that annoys me about you, because everything else is looking a lot better. But I just want to see that little bit of finesse there. But no, I think he did very well, Chris. And I think the nice thing about him is that he's more of an attacking midfield option that we're playing on the right, potentially. But I think it allows Justin to do what he was doing towards the end of the game more, which is bursting forward with the ball. And I said it, he's our second top goal scorer. He might have been bad at right back, but he can get the ball forward and create chances. So I was encouraged by that, by Reid, coming across into the middle more. So I think it worked quite well as a balance. It did. It surprised us, but worked well.
I just want to make I put it out there that, and I said on social media, this guy's taken some brickbats during the season. But I'm prepared to give credit when credit's due. And I think he deserved the credit from the other day. Would you say, look, we've said many times during this season, we only ever have a good 45 minutes. And having a good 45 minutes doesn't ever mean we come out on top. We could be 1-0 down, have a brilliant second 45 minutes, but still lose 1-0. Overall, I think that's up there with probably the best 90 minutes we've played all season.
I think you're right, yeah. And I think the reason why is because we showed grit, and there's times I've questioned the grit, Chris. The reason I went for a 9 as my performance number, I think the actual technical performance was probably a 6. It wasn't actually anything too special, because Tottenham weren't particularly that special either. But I gave them the extra mileage and extra credit because they were running, they were working, they were battling, and they looked to me like they were actually believing in it. And it's like Vardy was saying post-match, this team believes it will stay up. I hope that isn't just words. I hope they actually generally do feel that, because there's no point saying it if you don't feel it. You're better off just doing a different angle. But I believe, just with the attitude that was shown, that is a bigger part of it than even just the performance technically. And that's what we need to see more of, because it is that foxes never quit and great escape if we're going to do this.
Oh, definitely. I'll just put Ez's up there. It will mean nothing, though, if we go out and lose to Everton.
Agreed, totally. And also, they're not going to have the space Tottenham had, like I briefly mentioned before. It's a worrying game for me to face Everton after this, because it's a complete contrast to what Tottenham were. So we're going to have to turn up in a different way, and we're still going to have to find another way. And we're going to have to show maturity, I mean, I sometimes look at the players and I just wish they were a little bit more mature in their decision-making process. I know Bilal's young, and he had a great game. That goal was superb. We could have scored with Decordova Reid if he'd slipped it through. First time they've played together, probably, so I can understand why he didn't do it. He didn't expect him to be there. But hopefully this week on the training pitch, Chris, more of this practice. Get these guys doing it. Get them rotating the ball around, because, look, we then got to get into a very difficult Everton team with a strong defence.
Yes. But we can only play what's in front of us.
This is it. This is it. Exactly. And we know we're going to face a brick wall. And their goalkeeper, Pickford, makes, I think, a very good voice for them, isn't he? He's like their Casper. He'll give them extra 5 points a season alone. He's that good. Mm.
But yeah, would we have felt confident about doing that 3 weeks ago in the middle of this run? No. It's we said a lot during in the pre-match amble that if any team wants to sort of just get a kick, now's the play Leicester. If you haven't won in 8, play Leicester. If you haven't scored in 12, play Leicester. And it's a bit like that with Spurs at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? Because how many times this season, Chris, have we kind of jokingly but also semi-believed that we're going to need 3 teams to be worse than us?
Yes.
You know what I mean? To stay up. And what shocked me was I knew Tottenham were in a bad place. I didn't know they would be worse than us, and they were. And that was a shocking thing for me. And that's really stunned me more than us winning, actually, because I always kind of felt like they're still beating Man City on occasion, aren't they? They're still scoring 4 or 5 goals a game. Yeah, they've got injury problems, but I think they'll still win enough to be mid-table and get into next season. It will be all right. But I didn't realise the toxicity that's there. The toxicity there is hideous, and it's actually borderline dangerous for them their football club going forward.
So if anybody can hear that in the background, I don't know if you can at all.
I couldn't.
We have hailstones here. We have had hailstones all day. That's how bad it is here.
I thought it was my boiler, so I couldn't work it out.
If you can win at Goodison Park and get Ndidi and Mads back, we can really push on. It is, like you say, it's now there's a 1 point gap. We need to try and we've got some difficult games coming up. That is the concerning thing. But this was a point that Ruud made at the end. The performance was excellent. The effort, the dedication, the blocks and clearances, it was a joy to watch. Don't think he was enjoying it in those last few minutes when he was pacing his technical area. But yes, and maybe, like you say, it's a change. They've had 2 changes in a season. Maybe they are starting to buy into what Ruud is saying.
Maybe, mate. Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because if you compare the 2 managers at Leicester and Tottenham right now, both facing adversity, by all accounts, Ange's coming across to me like someone who is saying the same thing and getting red in the face about it a lot now and not getting anywhere. By all accounts, this week, Ruud took the players out for a meal, didn't he? And got to sit with them one-on-one. Yes, he did. I read about this. Yeah, took them out for a meal and sat with them one-on-one at times and got to talk to them and just talk to them man on man. And by all accounts, I think he's connected with them better as a consequence of that. I think he could have just done what, some managers will do this. They'll just throw their, trolley over, won't they? And they'll go, this is awful. But I think he actually took the time to be the man manager and to get to them a bit. And I think you could see the difference of that. They looked like they were really pulling for him, which I think is so important because you've got to believe in the manager. And that's what got us in this mess because we felt the players didn't believe in Cooper.
And we did say, again, jokingly, that maybe he needs to buy the guys the pizza.
Well, exactly. I mean, I don't know what the Dutch thing will be. Stroopwafels, perhaps, but they'll get fat.
I don't know. But look, I hope nobody takes offence at me using El Canoes for this because I seem to upset everybody with the graphics I do. But there's the bottom 6 as it stands at the moment. We'll look at it in more detail, obviously, towards the end of the show when we've done all the games. But look, we are out of the bottom 3. We are 17th. This is where we need to be at the end of the season. If that's how the season ends up, where we are just by 1 point, and Ipswich, they had their goal difference buggered by Manchester City recently. Yeah. If that's how it ends at the end of the season, I think we'll all be little happy chappies.
Ultimately, Chris, we've got to survive.
Yeah, it says Faze has a decent second half. He's very good when he wants to be. We'll agree. I think
he's difficult. I think he's difficult to manage because he's obviously got a bit of an ego, and I think you've got to sort of nurse him a little bit. But I agree with that. I think in the second half he was all right, and he has games where he is all right. But you've got to sort of stroke his hair.
Yes.
Well done, Whoop. Good job.
Yes, I mean, look, he's not my favourite player. What can I say? So I've just had a urgent weather report.
You're due hailstones.
Does this weather make Lanzarote seem even much more attractive? I'm off to Lanzarote in a few weeks.
Awesome.
Sorry, guys. I will post lots of pictures for me sat around the pool, soaking up the sun down the.
Can you do the watch along from poolside, Chris, wearing like a Hawaiian shirt with a cocktail? It'd be immense.
Maybe I should actually.
You should. LTID on tour. Come on.
Now you've got me thinking.
It's a great idea.
I'm going with a Liverpool fan, so that could be interesting. But here we go. Look, you watched this game.
Good.
We all went for a 2-2. Brad, Wayne, and myself all went for the old Desmond. Does this show A, are Man City back, and B, Chelsea aren't title contenders?
I would say no, because I disagree with the first one and agree with the second one. I don't think Man City are fully back yet, because the performance we saw in this wasn't the full Man City we're used to. They've kind of shifted. They still don't look entirely together to me, but they just made the best of what they got on the day. And also, Chelsea do play this ridiculously high line, as we know when Enzo managed us. And against Manchester City, when they got Haaland, and they treated Haaland like a target man in this game, Chris. They pinged it up to him, which I've not really seen them overly lean on too much. They normally go down the flanks with someone. And he just kept winning flick-ons, and Chelsea was so out of the pitch, it was inevitable they were going to lose 3-1, really. But yeah, they're not the complete article. And Chelsea's problem is that they're playing a very good system, but Enzo's not quite got the tools yet to make it work. I mean, like, I'll give you an example. I think Colwell's a nice centre-back, a very good defender. I don't think in a high line it best serves him. I don't think it exposes him a bit sometimes. And to get a defender like that, you need a Virgil van Dijk, and they're very rare and they're very expensive, you know. So I think when Chelsea do the transfer business at the end of the season, I think next year going forward, they're going to be quite dangerous. And I think they've probably got a better future long-term than Man City have. So they still don't look right to me.
And do you think, just tagging it into Leicester, because we said that if Enzo was still manager, we'd probably go straight back down playing that way, because he didn't have the tools. I mean, the tools he's got at Chelsea are better tools, I think, than he would have had at Leicester, a lot better. But like you say, I mean, he's got that, and they've got that many players there, haven't they, as well?
Yeah, you've literally got like a jumble sale, you know, in the reserve team of every player, you know, you can imagine. So he's got plenty of opportunity to pick and choose a team, and he's obviously started moving players on, and that's a big part of it. And I think Chelsea have made the right decision appointing him, Chris, because they've now got a long-term vision that is going to be very dangerous for clubs to come up against. So yeah, encouraging times for Chelsea, irrelevant of the result.
No, maybe it's a season too early for them to be considered that. If he doesn't do well, I mean, Chelsea at the moment, they're in the top 6. If he doesn't get them Champions League football this season, will Chelsea stick with him, though?
I think they should, because I think, I think they should. But you're right. Will they? I don't know. That's a very good question. I would say it would be a failure if he doesn't get into top 4. The only thing I was reading this week, I think we might have 5 Champions League places because of coefficients seedings coming up. So, top 5, and maybe someone wins Europa League. We've got 6 or 7 clubs probably in the Champions League next year from the Premier League, which is quite crazy, really. So I don't envision that happening, Chris. I think they'll make Europe at some form or another. And I think they'll stick with it. And we'll probably see a lot of changes this summer.
It's strange, isn't it? Seeing that many people going into a Champions League, it's almost like having a European League, isn't it? Really?
Well, it's bonkers, isn't it? No, I know what you mean. It's like a European Super League, but that's part of why they changed the format, didn't they, Chris? Because they wanted to make sure the clubs didn't go and do their own thing. And I say this, like, I'm not one for changing football, as you know, but I will say I think the new format for the Champions League's better, a lot better.
I don't follow it enough to have any interest in it, to be honest with you. We're not in it. Why should I show an interest? It just always annoys me that it's called the Champions League, because Liverpool won it when they weren't champions, and this has happened so often. I think the way it used to be is you should have one tournament for whoever wins the league, but then again, you'd get teams going off and doing their own thing, wouldn't you?
It's similar to how America has the World Series of baseball in America. It's not a World Series, then, is it?
Exactly. No, it's a North American series. But look, Liverpool top, and we'll look at the table in more detail later. But Man City are 4th and Chelsea are 6th. 13 points behind Liverpool are Chelsea. They've got, and obviously Liverpool have got a game in hand. Man City 12 points behind Liverpool, and as they've played that game more. Is it a step too far?
Well, for Chelsea to get into the top four?
No, for City to mount a defence of their title.
Oh, yeah, no, it's gone, Chris. It's gone. And I'll tell you why, because it's a similar thing to Tottenham. The vibes of Man City still aren't right. I mean, also, obviously, send our best to Pep Guardiola, who's getting a divorce right now, by all accounts, which is a horrible situation for any human being, irrelevant of what position you're in, to go through. That's awful. So all the best to him and his family, because that's not a nice thing. But he doesn't look, he's obviously going through a hard time. You can see in the post-match that do you know what, Chris? Do you know what I thought? Honestly, I thought, why is there not a provision for Premier League managers to have time off? Because he looks to me now like, and it's affected the club a little bit, and I think it's affected a few things that he wouldn't want it to affect as well. I'm not saying he's let it leak into his work, but I think there has been an atmosphere around Man City where things have been very difficult. And they don't look truly right to me. I don't know what it is, but they just seem to be sort of scraping by still. They've not quite found that flow yet, but they have signed some new players, so maybe it's a case of Chris getting them up to speed.
I'm surprised he he signed a new contract, a year's extension, hasn't he? I thought at the end of this season he might say, like Klopp has done, I need a break from this, because it's not, you will never say that Klopp was a failure. Well, depending what your standards are. If you're going on, he only won one Premier League, then you could argue he was. But overall as a manager, Liverpool fans love him, and I don't think you could call him a failure. And he's left out and he said, I've had enough of this. I want to do a job that's not there. And I thought Pep might do that, or even do a Potter and have 12, 18 months out and have a rest.
I'm as surprised as you are, Chris, because I think that's a bigger part of being a good manager as anything else, is knowing when to walk away. And I think Klopp knew the signs were on the wall for him and his health, and for how the job had been, that he needed to get away. And I think the same did apply to Pep. I agree. I think we all were a bit surprised when it extended. I thought we all felt that he might have a year off and go and do something else. But I think it was surprising. I mean, in some ways, you could look at it in a quite romanticized, positive way of, well, fair play to him, because he's obviously pushing through a difficult time. But also, I kind of feel like, do you really need to? If you've got all this money and you've done all this and you've had you don't need to put yourself through it. I mean, maybe put yourself forward a bit more as well. So I just hope, mate, honestly, I know it sounds bizarre, irrelevant to football, I just hope he's all right, honestly. And I hope that, there's someone at the club looking after him. And I hope if they have to give him a couple of weeks off just to go get him, I hope they do it. The assistant manager can take over for 2 weeks. It wouldn't be a problem, would it?
No, not at all. Wayne says, does 17th qualify? Love it, Wayne. Love it. You got my sense of humour. And it's emotional and physically draining. Yes, it is. And that's just presenting this show.
That's just working with me.
Well, I didn't like to say that. I like to say that. But look, sat up there, as you can see on that table, in third place, I'm pushing for a place in Europe, is a certain team that just up the M1 from us, our nearest rivals in the Premier League at the moment, and that's Nottingham Forest. And I have to say, before we start, and again, these people that say, why do you keep saying well done, Forest? Just grow up, will you?
Yeah.
Because, it's football, it's banter we have between the two teams. Was I bothered when they were winning the European Cup? Not particularly. And well done to them, because I was more bothered about how Leicester was struggling in the second tier. Were they supporting us when we were beating, when we won the league? Not every fan, I would grant you, but I'll probably say name 10 Forest fans that were actually saying, well done, go ahead and do it. And if Nottingham Forest qualify for the Champions League, and let's say Chelsea or Man City don't, well done, Forest.
Yeah, agreed. I completely agree.
I mean, it is going to be over the top. A lot of people saying, like, is this then what happened with Leicester? No, because we won it and we didn't have this sort of scoreline to contend with. And I have to say, it is a scoreline that not one person in the prediction league got. And you're going to have to be in this prediction league next season.
I do, because I keep forgetting to send in my predictions. So put me in the league next year and I'll make sure they're in, mate.
5-0.
John,
I
what has
did
gone?
not see that coming. And if we're
Oh.
talking about how well Forest are doing, let's talk about how well Bournemouth are doing.
Yeah.
We'll hear it first, though, from the horse's mouth, because as you know, we do have a fans video, and a good mate of mine is a Bournemouth fan. No, not that one. The other mate. Let's see what he's got to say.
This is Colin from Colin and Big Tail's AFCB Matchday Vlogs on YouTube, and I'm here to give a debrief / summary on the game yesterday at Dean Court, which finished AFC Bournemouth 5, Nottingham Forest 0. And I don't think many people saw this result coming. Us and Forest have sort of been the two surprise packages in the Premier League this season. Obviously, we've been on a great run of form past couple of months. 11 games unbeaten now in the Premier League. And Forest, obviously, as you know, as we all know, Forest are having an insanely good season. I think they, of the past 10 games before us, they won 8 of them, and they were third in the table, you know, properly breathing down Liverpool's neck. Obviously, the only team that's beaten Liverpool this season, and got a really good draw of them a couple of weeks ago as well. So a lot of Bournemouth fans, myself included, were a bit apprehensive going into this one. Obviously, we off a great result against Newcastle last week. Obviously, Forest play, they're very hard to break down. They don't concede many goals, and they're lethal on the counter-attack. So we were a bit concerned because normally we don't do well against teams like that. We don't like teams who sit off and want us to have the ball, where we like to attack on the transitions. We like to, you know, properly press on teams who have the ball. That's why we've done so well against the top teams this season and got so many points off them. And the first half yesterday was a little bit cagey. The first 20 minutes or so, we started pretty well, actually. We had a few chances, getting some space. And then Cliver, great finish. It's just the Forest back line just kept retreating, and they just gave Cliver so much space. If you watch the highlights of it, he just keeps on running. He's got like so much space, no one closing him down. He's got so much time to pick his spot, and just beautiful strike into the corner. That's his 4th goal in 2 weeks. Got a hat-trick last week against Newcastle. He's been on fire lately, Clive, absolutely fantastic. And after that, we did sit back a little bit for the remainder of the half. It did become a bit cagey. We let Forest come back into it. You sort of like said to Forest, no, what have you got? Attack us. How can you break us down? So we got into half-time 1-0, and then second half, Forest did come out the traps quite quickly, and second half, similar to how we did in the first half, we had a few chances, Kev made a few good saves, but then after that, once we got the second goal, beautiful cross from Clive. If you watch the highlights, the header from Dango, beautiful looping header, absolutely fantastic. He's got such a great leap on him, that boy. So yeah, once we got that second goal, we literally were all over them. Every time we attacked, it looked like we were going to score, and pretty much we did score with every attack, to be honest with you. But it could have been more. We did have a goal disallowed for offside as well. And if you get a chance to see that one, that was the best of the bunch, the one that was disallowed. Beautiful run, great passing move, and a fantastic weaving run from Clivert, and then he finished it, but sadly Dango was offside. But then, you know, Dango got his hat-trick, really happy for him. And then Semenyo got the 5th right at the end, and it was just pie atmosphere at Dean Court. We're sort of pinching ourselves at the moment. I've been supporting the club since '98, and this is easily one of the best teams and one of the best seasons I can remember. It's just been absolutely fantastic, and you know, we've got a fantastic manager with a great start, such an intelligent manager. Like, we've got so many injuries at the moment. We've got a bench for the kids against Newcastle. We basically had the only player on our bench who had any Premier League experience was Mark Travers, the goalkeeper. Everyone else was academy products. Today, yesterday was similar as well. We had Marcus Tavernier back on the bench, but apart from that, kids again. And the team is just playing so well. David Brooks, Tyler Adams, there's too many names to mention. Kirk is at the back. And a shout out to Lewis Cook as well, who really should be getting a consideration for England. It's absolutely criminal that he gets overlooked for England squad selections year after year. He's playing right back at the moment because we've got no fit right backs at the club. He's not a right back whatsoever. He's just been put there in the past couple of weeks by Areola, and it's just worked. He's just such an intelligent manager, and he knows where to put players. He knows where missing pieces are. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm running out of words to describe this team. I know a few weeks ago we were jokingly saying about Champions League football, European football for little old Bournemouth. You know, no one's going to believe that. We're sort of joking about it, but now we think it could actually happen. You know, we could actually get some form of European football, and that's just insane for a club of our size and where we've come from and the dark days we've been through. And next weekend we've actually got Liverpool at home. And I tell you, Liverpool will not be looking forward to that game. And I think we're going to give them a good game. We're obviously going to be realistic, but we will give them a good game. And I think they'll be happy with a point. So, yeah, very delighted. The fan base is just absolutely ecstatic at the moment. Sky's the limit. Just enjoying every moment at the moment. So, yes, up the chairs.
And fair play to them. I don't need to go about this Bournemouth story. I've said it too many times, but to see a team doing well, as much as Nottingham Forest, even more so for Bournemouth, because they've never been there. Did you see that coming?
No, I don't think anyone did, Chris, because Nottingham Forest have put up a strong physical resilience all season to teams like Bournemouth, and no team, including Liverpool, has managed to get past it so far. And look what Bournemouth go and do with all the injuries. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't really add anything to what has already been said. I mean, there's not enough words invented in the English language to say how impressive and how amazing they are at the moment. There's so many injuries. The manager's just got them all buying into the vision, irrelevant of their quality as individual footballers. And it's a credit to him. And Clivert, mate, what a game. Utara, I mean, we've given Clivert a win before for the player of the week, haven't we, at the end of the show? No spoilers, maybe he'll get a second one this week. Stay to the end to find out, because impressive performances all around from Bournemouth, Chris.
Indeed. As Passion said, it's good to see the non-16s doing so well. I'd also like to think Leicester inspired them to be better. I think we inspired a lot of teams, but you need more than inspiration to do better. And Bournemouth, like the phoenix that's risen from the ashes, to be honest with you, that has got... If at the end of the season, I think I will struggle to pick a game that was as big a surprise as that. And when you've got a team that's doing well, and Bournemouth are doing well, to actually create a surprise... And, Bournemouth, they've beaten, the big teams in the past. They've beaten Chelsea at Dean Court before now, and the Vitality Stadium, whatever it's called these days. But look, well done. 23 played, 11 wins, 7 draws, 41 goals for, only 26 against, 40 points. They're not in a relegation battle. Not lost in 5, won 3 and drawn 2. Oh, my God. And maybe I need to start supporting Bournemouth, because I'd swap that in a heartbeat.
It is remarkably impressive, Chris, isn't it? And they can dream of Europe. I just think that the way they're doing it right now is the way they got to continue doing it. And let's not go full Erling Haaland here, but stay humble, because they're turning up, playing a very humble game. They know they haven't got all their best players fit right now, but they're turning up with a great attitude. And as long as they keep that as their focus and not get too carried away, with like other teams have done, like Forest started doing it a few weeks ago, didn't they? Like, we're going to get in the Champions League. They probably will, but don't make that the main focus. You can take away from yourselves. But I think Bournemouth are very, very good, because they got their headset, and you see from the fan we had on there, they're just a real nice group of fans as well. I'm really happy for them, Chris.
And what a manager.
Oh, he's unbelievable, isn't he? The problem is when you're at a club like Bournemouth doing things like this, all of a sudden the vultures start circling, don't they?
So give him a next question. Yes.
Yeah, so this is the only concern. There's only so long you can make this much noise with all due respect, little old Bournemouth. And I know they won't mind me saying that, because we've been little old Leicester and owned it.
Well, he said that himself, didn't he?
Exactly, and that's not a criticism. That's actually a glowing thing of positivity to how well they're shining right now as a small light. But the problem is, it's going to attract a lot of attention, including to their star players as well. So I really hope they can enjoy this, get themselves into Europe, get that money in the door, which will help a club like Bournemouth, and really enjoy themselves, because that's what it's about.
Yeah. What I hope with Areola at Bournemouth, and my mind has gone blank. Who's the manager at Forest? What's he called?
Nuno Espirito de Santo.
Nuno. Just look at Nuno. He was doing reasonably well at Wolves. He went for the big bucks. And as I've said, and we've said this about Potter, it's difficult to sometimes go for the big bucks. And no disrespect to Forest, he took, he had that gap between, but you take a step back and go to a club like Forest, who are not what they were, but he's building that up again. They will come back from this, won't they? I'm sure. But what I'm saying is, Areola, maybe if those offers start coming in, maybe just consider it for a moment.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, mate? Because ultimately, being a football manager is like any line of work, isn't it? Promotions can come and offered to you, and it involves more money, it involves more this. And like any human being, you're going to be enticed by it, aren't you? But briefly say about Forest, like you say, I don't think they should dwell on this. Whatever happened. It was a one-off day for them. They need to get their heads back on it, and they'll probably win next week.
Yeah. We're going to look at everybody else straight after this.
Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels.
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
Moving on, looking at our rivals, if you like. Brighton 0, Everton 1. The rise of Everton, again, maybe this is their phoenix. David Moyes saying, I don't want to go to a club in a relegation battle, but I think the lure of Everton was too much for him. And I understand that, you know. Brighton is a surprise package because they seem to have gone off the boil a little bit.
Yeah, it's funny, Chris, because I thought that a little bit. They seem to have dried up a little bit. They're not as free-flowing as they were. And the thing that I question about Brighton is they've got a lot of players they've sent off on loan, haven't they? Bunotte and Cesso's gone to Ipswich as well. And, you know, they're in a good position as a football club. But, yeah, they have really surprisingly got a bit stagnant recently. Didn't the same thing happen under De Zerbi a little bit? They kind of slightly started slipping. And don't get me wrong, they'll still be well up the table. They'll probably be mid-table at the end of it. But there's a part of me now that looks at Brighton and go, they're missing out on a potential European run again if they're not careful there. Because, you know, they could be that good if they can get it more consistent. And they're lacking consistency now.
And Everton, what Everton did here was win away from home. Normally, it is Fortress Goodison. It will be see if that moves over to the new stadium, which is really impressive. Well done, Everton, for getting that. But we're going to Everton next at Goodison. Every game at Goodison this season is going to be a bit special for them because it's the last game every time they host somebody. I'm sure the fact that they won't remember the last time they hosted Leicester, but I hope not. Anyway, it was the beating us 9-0 or something. But look, I do hope that the new manager bounce is over. He's had 2 wins now. David, get back to normal.
Well, exactly, mate. Exactly. I mean, the only bad news for Everton, but sadly, potentially good news for us is Calvert-Lewin went off injured, didn't he? And we don't want to wish it on anyone. But when we're in a scenario where we need 3 teams worse than us, probably, or whatever, that could be helpful for us. But no, credit to him. I mean, for me, it was like the worst case scenario. It'd be like Harry Potter being offered the chance to go back to Hogwarts. He's going to take it, isn't he? And he's going to use his magic wand, and before you know it, look what's going to happen. So they're playing a lot better, Everton. They're showing a lot more resilience. It's basically Dyche football, just with a bit more of an attacking extension. So I think they're looking very good now, mate. But like you say, we need this new rub off next week desperately for us.
Brighton have opened the door for Evan Ferguson to go out on loan. West Ham, Tottenham and Bournemouth are all interested. They're letting a lot of players out on loan, as you've just said. Did you watch Match of the Day 2 last night?
I did, yeah.
Was that not the Brighton manager?
Yes. I know what you mean.
Maybe he needs to concentrate on his football. All right. Yeah, he's with us.
Yeah, I'm still with you. I nearly choked though because I suddenly getting visions back to Brian Clough when he'd rock up after derby games, on the TV and cause his chairman a problem.
One-off, maybe it's all right, but I'm thinking rein it in a little bit here. Do you know what I mean?
It's a sort of league this year, though, Chris. If you take your eye off the ball for too long, and there's a little bit of suggestion Brighton can do that at times, you can end up getting yourself into a bit of trouble, can't you? And Evan Ferguson's an interesting one because, like Bunotte, I look at him and go, I don't see any reason why he shouldn't be in your first team or in and around it. I mean, credit to you if you think he could send him out. You've got that depth there. But when you're in a period now where you're drying up a little bit and you need a bit more attacking, perhaps movement than that, I'm a bit surprised in some ways to see him because I think he's long-term going to be a very big player.
Yes, yeah. And it's interesting to see he's only going out on loan. So that's interesting. But look, Brighton couldn't do us any favours. Newcastle did, coming from behind to beat Southampton. And is there any hope for Southampton at all?
No, Chris. Every time they show hope, it's for a 10-minute spell, and then they have 80 minutes where it's completely rubbed in their face that they're not going to get there, unfortunately. And that's not to be mean to them, but that is the reality they're facing, and they've got to own it. The manager literally said the same thing, and he talked about lacking Premier League quality ultimately and wanting to do something about it. But it's the 27th of January today. There's not much time left to do anything about this, is it? So no, they're gone, mate. They're so far adrift, and I'm not gloating at that, because it could have easily been us in the circumstances.
Yes.
But
Yes.
But it has not worked out for them. If you go and 1 up at home after 10 minutes, and then you 20 minutes later you're 2-1 down, it's just not going to work, is it, mate? And it's not.
Oh, tell that to Tottenham.
Well, exactly. Exactly similar principle, isn't it? But that's what I was saying. The interesting thing is we've accused ourselves of being one of the worst two teams. But my word, Tottenham made it look like they were one of the worst two this week.
Yes, yeah. And look, I can't remember how many points we had at this point of the season in our Great Escape year. I believe we had more than 6.
I think so. I think we had about 18, didn't we?
we were not this bad. And I was looking at an old table the other week, and it was showing teams that were relegated with like 40 points and what have you. But
yeah.
which is scary. But 23 games played, only 1 win and 3 draws, and a minus 37 goal difference. I think if that had been Leicester, we would have used the argument of, if it was PSR, well, look, we had the PSR deduction. And we thank God for that, although it always seems to sort of hang over our heads. I'm not going to say I can't see any way, because this is football. And you just never know. I'm sure nobody expected us to do it in the Great Escape year, but I do think they are down. Newcastle pushing for the in a Europa League space at the moment, which could be a Champions League space, like you said. Only lost 1 in 6, so funny enough, played us, and the season's turned around for them.
It was literally what happened, wasn't it, Chris? I was giving Isaac a bit of stick the week before, and then all of a sudden, since then, he's been absolutely brilliant for them. So credit to him.
I think not only Leicester players watch this, I think players from a few clubs watch this channel. Joking. Liverpool did us a huge favour as well. They march on. Well done to them. Before we get on to Ipswich, Liverpool, it is becoming... I mean, look, they've got a game in hand against Everton. I don't know whether they're going to believe in that till the end of the season to make it the last game ever at Goodison Park, because it was at Goodison, wasn't it? But look, they are currently 6 points clear of Arsenal with a game in hand. That would be 9. Again, I hate to say this, but is it theirs to throw away?
Well, they're 18 unbeaten now in the league, aren't they? I think it's all pretty much there now, Chris, isn't it? Quickly, as what you said, I wish they could move that game to the end of the season, but I think all the final day games have got to be the same, haven't they, as they're preset for the league, because obviously it's all got to play out at the same time. So I think, unfortunately, that won't happen, but that's a great idea. But no, Liverpool, mate, they're superb. I mean, the thing that I took from this game, which was quite interesting for a team that just scored 4, and it's what Danny Murphy talked about match of the day that annoyed me, because I'd spotted it before him, and that was how good the defence were for Liverpool in progressing the ball forward. Canate, has been quietly doing what Virgil van Dijk's been doing just as well, which is a credit to them. So they're just so good, mate. The passing, the vision, the work rate, they've just got everything, Liverpool, and that's why they do it. And they got the resilience, mate.
Yes. Very, very quickly, just to go back, Passion, we're on 17 points in 20th position, if my calculations is correct. 17 points, 11 points more than Southampton on at the moment.
I remember it was near 20 points, and we were 20th. It was quite a difference.
Yes, it is. I mean, I'm sorry, Southampton, to twist that knife in, but there we go. But look, Liverpool... they've struggled against Forest and the odd game occasionally, but look, they did it against Ipswich. I wasn't expecting this bigger score. I mean, I went, what did I actually go? I may have gone, I went 3-0, so it's pretty much the same, isn't it? But maybe, is Ipswich's little bounce over now?
Well, it could be, but mate, they didn't look out of sorts. They didn't look like they'd lost anything, and they still threatened towards the end. And I'll give them credit. When you're 4-0 down away from home at a big place like Anfield, it can be difficult to motivate yourself, I can imagine, as a lower club. But they still went out there and got a last-minute goal, which they did deserve, because they came out at the start of the second half and thought, well, we're losing anyway, so let's just try and get a goal. So no, I don't think they need to panic. Ultimately, Chris, it is that age-old question: will the lack of quality? And I think they have got quality, and I think they've improved, but ultimately they are still that team from the Championship last year, like we are. Is that quality going to be able to, be there to get them over the line? Because right now they are dropping off a bit, aren't they? And I don't think it's any fault of their own particularly either.
No. Do you think it helps Ipswich because everybody expects them to go down? They are very much the little old tag at the moment. As well as Bournemouth, but it's like they are literally just enjoying it for what it is. Maybe, that can only take you so far. But let's not write them off. They are literally only 1 point off us, and therefore safety.
Exactly. And the thing is, mate, it's like, well, look at next week's games we got lined up. We're going to have Bournemouth versus Liverpool. Looking at these two games we just talked about. And my word, there's a part of me that thinks, could Bournemouth beat Liverpool, even though they got all these players out injured? That's the Premier League for you, which is at its best. It could be better if the money wasn't such a big problem. But I look at it and go, back-to-back wins for Ipswich, which could happen. It's that sort of league, especially they've got a couple of home games in a row. The doors get blown open again. This is why it's so important to pick up these points like we did against Spurs, because my word, you can't leave them on the table.
No. Yvonne's in. Hi, Yvonne. He says, hello, Chris and all. Well done, Leicester. And I feel and I don't know what she's feeling because she pressed enter too soon, I think. And I've no doubt she's madly typing away the rest of that sentence. Arsenal did us a favour against Wolves. I haven't seen this, but apparently it was a controversial red card. Did they make hard work of this, Arsenal?
I think the referee made the hard work of the game in general, not just for Arsenal, because he also made some interesting decisions against Wolves players at points as well. And he kind of changed the atmosphere of the game. So I didn't go into this game, expecting it to be as heated as it was, but it got very heated very quickly. Arsenal, I think, credit to them, though, because how many times will Arsenal have drawn this after facing a bit of adversity, if they deserved it or not? And they still went out there and won the game. So I've got to give them a lot of credit for that, Chris, because it's been one of my complaints about Arsenal when it comes to their facing of adversity and how they get through it. And I've said that's the difference between them and Liverpool. So this could be in long term for the rest of the season a big result for Arsenal, and credit to him for getting through it. But the referee didn't help himself.
No. Can I just say, I will tell you now before we go on to this next game that I have got the score wrong. And it's copy and paste. And that's the problem. It doesn't say I copy it, so I will go on and change it like to 2-1 or 1-2, which it should have been, and then for some reason it doesn't save it. I don't know why, but no. Well, Palace lost anyway, but it was 1-2. I don't think Palace can consider themselves safe. I mean, they got 27 points, but a run or a bad run, and they can be drawn back in. Will they consider themselves safe, sat in 13th with 27 points?
I think they will, and I think the difference with Crystal Palace is, if every game they have at Selhurst Park, Chris, is going to be an absolute challenge for any team that comes there. And it was the same here. Brentford had to work for this 2-1 win. It wasn't just handed to them. And both teams did similar things. Nice one-touch football, very good little bits of what they're doing. And of course, they signed this guy from Millwall as well, Eze. I can't pronounce. There's two Ezes they've got now, with just slightly different pronunciations. But yeah, no, I think they'll be fine, Chris, honestly, because they're showing a resilience. And also, like, you can tell the energy of clubs, can't you, when they're on the pitch? And every time I watch Palace play, I think they're just really into themselves in the right way. And I think they're not worried at all, do they? So I think despite the loss at home, they'll be fine.
And Brentford, sat in 11th again, another team very much like Brighton, I think, have gone off Brighton and Fulham have all gone off the boil a little bit.
Well, if Brentford could have an away record rather than just a home one, they'd be in the European places now, Chris. So I think, I still think for the sum of their parts, they're achieving what they should be, at the top end of it. But there is, like Brighton, that little bit of me now as the season progresses going, maybe they could have pushed on a bit from where they were. But this is a good win in regard to that. It's an away win for them on the road, which is not rare, which is quite rare for them. It was in London, so how away is it for them? I don't know. But I mean, they could do more still, I think, yeah.
It's not the North London derby, but I think it's still classed as a derby. Yvonne says what she wanted to finish saying was, and I feel Leicester could win at Everton. You had me worried, so I'm so glad you added that, Yvonne. I did wonder what you were feeling at that end, if I'm honest. Right, let's move on, and we will go to Aston Villa, West Ham. I think West Ham thought that they had won it. But it wasn't to be. A draw. I mean, West Ham now in 14th on 27, the same as Palace. Technically not out of the mire yet, but they must be feeling a lot happier since Potter's come in.
Yeah, I think they will, Chris. What was interesting about the West Ham performance in this game was they were utter bastards. I mean, out of all the love in the world, they really were. But sometimes you need to be that as a football club, right? They were a pain in the arse for Aston Villa because Aston Villa were 1-0 up and looking like they might move more goals into the back of the net. And all of a sudden, West Ham started getting very defensive in the aggressive way with them. And I think they shocked Villa into giving them a point at the end of it. And by the end, like you say, West Ham could have turned the game on its head. It's not the way I like football being played at football clubs, but like Leeds United wasn't under Revy back in the days. Whatever serves you best sometimes to get you the results does the job. So, and I think West Ham are out of the relegation battle already. Potter's now got time to look at this team and start with them. I think they'll be in a good position for next year on the back of this, Chris.
Yeah. And our final game, I was hoping for a Man United win just to wind my my in-laws up. Wasn't to be. 1-0 to Manchester United. I don't know if you watched it. I didn't. We all went for Fulham win. But I suppose when you're in the sort of position that Man United are in, or any team that is in, we would have said the same. A win is a win. We don't care how it comes.
Well, exactly. I mean, the performance still isn't really there for Manchester United yet. I think the first half, it was pretty much all Fulham, if I'm not mistaken, apart from maybe the last minute. And then after that, they sort of came into it more. And if you compare it to what Sporting used to play like under Amarin, you could see the long distance they've got to travel as a club yet to get to that. And it's not a job that's going to be done this season. Ironically, I said before, if they stuck with Ruud, they'd probably be higher up now, playing a simpler tactic. But long term, this will probably serve them better. But like you say, Chris, they scrapped it. They got a lucky deflection, a lucky goal, went in the back of the net. They showed some resilience. Fulham couldn't quite have the quality on the day to get past that resilience. So great 3 points in Manchester United, but obviously still a lot of work to do.
What do you make of Amarin saying he'd rather pick a 63-year-old coach over Rashford?
Yeah, it was a bit pointed, that, wasn't it? Yeah, it's almost like he's defending his decision, feeling like the press are coming at him for not playing him. But I would say, from my perspective, I'd agree with him. I wouldn't play him either right now. I'd have let him go off and do whatever he needs to because his head wasn't in it and it was affecting the club.
I think. Look, Rashford is one of their own, and I suppose if Dewsbury Hall or somebody like that wasn't being picked, it would have been the same at Leicester. So I guess he's having to defend it. But look, now here's it. Are you ready for a little bit of interesting comparison here?
Okay.
What did you used to watch Harry Hill?
Yeah, back in the day. Yeah.
Comparison of the week. Here we go. Comparing match week 23 with match week 1. Because this was the week when all the games came round. Starting at the top, Man United beat Fulham both times 1-0. That's a bit of a what do they call it when it's the same one side as
mirror image? Mirror image.
Mirror image, yes. I think
mirrored, yeah.
Liverpool won both games, as did Arsenal. Brighton and Everton shared it. Forest and Bournemouth was a 1-1 earlier in the season, and this was the opening weekend, though. Do remember that. Newcastle had done the double over Southampton. A little bit worse this time. West Ham lost to again Aston Villa on the opening day, but again different manager, different times. Brentford, look at that. Not only getting the same result, but getting exactly the same score as well. And Manchester United, Manchester City, I should say, doing the double over Chelsea. And as Brad so succinctly put in the post-match, beating Tottenham, or being unbeaten against Tottenham, you'll never sing that.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything stick out for you there?
Well, a little bit of what we were talking about previously, Chris, which is like some clubs that have, slightly tapered off a bit now. Not to say they're in trouble, but Brighton obviously losing at home to Everton was not a result that really should be on their bingo card, should it? Relevant to circumstances. The Southampton one's interesting for me because I remember that Southampton game at Newcastle, and I thought they played very well in that game. We're very unlucky not to get a point, actually. So it's amazing to show how actually that whole thing of, was it right to get rid of Russell Martin? Maybe long term they should have stuck with him, got relegated, and maybe they'd be back up better next time with more quality. So no, it's an interesting comparison, but also, like you say, there's also part of me that goes, relevant to some changes, the scorelines are very similar. A lot of managerial changes since then.
Yeah, a lot has changed. Well, we are coming up to award time, and we will do that, as they say, straight after this short break.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel now and make sure you never miss another upload. Leave a like now. Ring the bell and never miss another video.
Here we go. The good, the bad, and Tom's weekly awards. He's got his award there. He has.
A little bit of gold on it now. Look, we're starting to jazz it up. There's some arts and crafts going on away from the thing. I'm slowly vajazzling the trophy, my friend, if you remember what those were.
Yes, indeed. It's a bit worrying. Can I just say, you don't waste your afternoons, do you?
No, it's arts and crafts a lot with me, my friend.
I bet you. Is it QVC that got an arts and craft, or there's the Hobby Maker TV channel at about number 98 or something on the list?
Oh, I don't know, mate. I have memories of going around Marshall's in Canada, which I believe is a massive craft store, and oh my word, memories, mate, memories. Ask my ex girlfriend's mum about that.
I tell you what, it looks on that picture there like you may have had a bejazzle yourself down below.
I've always said I'd suit it, wouldn't I? I should really consider these things. I'm a bit too vanilla nowadays for the world, I think, mate.
I think you should certainly have glitter in your beard.
We'll see what we can arrange, mate. If we survive, I'll do glitter in the beard. But I said only if we survive. We've got to do it for a proper party reason. I'm not doing it for a win over Spurs because, come on, Ipswich beat Spurs.
Hey, be careful what you say. Look at me getting my my tattoo. That was on a Facebook drunken New Year post. So
does that say champions of England? You'll never sing that, Tottenham.
Who came second? Who came third in a 2-horse race? Right, let's have a look at this. We've got the good, we've got the bad. Slightly renamed them this year. This is Tom's top trump of the week.
You had to rename it that today, didn't you, Chris?
I did. I thought that was very apt. So, do you remember the game, that card game, Top Trumps?
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
It was based on that. Honest,
yeah, of course.
Talk us through your choices for this. Tom's picked it, but he always gives me a chance to see if I agree with him.
So what we do is, guys, every week we got the good and the bad, and basically we're going to nominate 3 for both. We'll start off with the good this week, and we're going to have 3 nominations. It comes from the Premier League weekend, and it could be anything from a player to a team to anything. So the 3 things I've got for good this week, I've gone for 3 managers, because I like to try and keep it all together. I like to try and make it interesting. So the 3 managers we've got nominated. First of all, Ruud van Nistelrooy. Get straight in there with Leicester's own. Taken a lot of stick the last few weeks. Taken a lot of, negativity, a lot of questions his way. And I think he's handled himself very well. And I think the 3 points was a testament to that. So I think he deserves a nomination for that alone, because it wasn't as if he was coming into this game with, a glowing good record. He was facing a lot of trouble, and I think to go and do it at Tottenham as well, in the circumstances, good job, Ruud. So he deserves a nomination for me. The second one would be David Moyes, because David Moyes has obviously come back into Everton, back-to-back wins, away win for Everton, and they're looking a step better already, irrelevant of players they've brought in and transfers. He's just making them look more refreshed, much more mobile going forward. So I've got to give him credit because that is with very little transfer market work. That's just on the training pitch in a week. So well done to him for that. 2 wins as well. And of course, you can guess who the third manager nomination is going to be, Chris. Andoni Areola, Bournemouth. 8 players out injured, I believe it was. Sounds a bit like the challenge Spurs faced, didn't it, ironically? And what happened? They went and won 5-0 at home. He inspired his team to a 5-0 win, irrelevant of what players he did or didn't have. I think that is a credit to a man who is doing a superb job with a very small budget and really punching above his weight. So there's our 3 for this week, mate. And we've got what your thoughts. So Bournemouth, Everton, Leicester, going for managers.
I'm surprised that you've gone for managers. I thought our friend Bobby might have been in there.
He was. Yeah. I thought about doing players, but every time I looked at it, Chris, I'll explain my reasoning why I went for managers. Because sometimes I think going for managers is a cop-out. I like to look for more specific things, but I just couldn't draw specifics without going back to the managers this week.
Yeah. And thank you, Wayne. Keep that up and you'll you might just disappear off a few shows. I jest. Okay, let's go through these. First of all, Amarin, because he, out of the 3 managers, was under no pressure at all going into this game.
You mean Areola, sorry? You mean Areola, the manager?
Oh, sorry, Areola. Who did I say? Amarin.
You said Amarin, and I was like, I didn't nominate him, mate.
No, Areola. Yes, it was an excellent win, and it was not expected because of who they were playing. But let's be honest with you, they're having a good season anyway. So I kind of can't see that. Ruud van Nistelrooy. Look, this is a Leicester channel. I think he had a lot of pressure on him going into this, more than the other 2 put together. He'd lost 7. He had that hanging over his head. When you just take over a new club, you don't want within the first 10 matches to have lost 8 on the trot and conceded 2 goals in all of them, virtually. So he was under a lot of pressure. David Moyes, it's great what he's done, but could you call 2 games in still the new manager bounce? I think you probably could. We'll see how that goes. Again, he was under no pressure. Look, any manager that comes in of a club that's struggling, when you bring a manager in, you expect them to do well. They've got to do better than the people that were there before them. You could argue that Ruud van Nistelrooy isn't at the moment, but that's a different argument. But because of the pressure he was under and the fact that there was I don't know if it was 100 years or how old it was, record on the line, without my blue-tinted glasses on, I am, though, going to go for Ruud van Nistelrooy, if it was me.
Okay, well, I'm going to be the enemy of the channel here now, aren't I? Because I haven't given it to Ruud. I still think with Ruud, we need to give it a week. It's one of those I want to see what happens next week.
Are we not giving this award on this weekend?
We are on this weekend, yeah. That's why I've given it to Bournemouth and Areola, because I agree with what you said. There's no pressure. But Nottingham Forest are 3rd in the league, and they've got 8 players out injured, Chris. And they went out there and utterly did them 5-0. This Liverpool team that's top of the league right now couldn't break down this Forest team and lost 1-0. And it's a similar style of football. And in theory, Bournemouth should be worse at it. So it's definitely, for me, his award this week, because this weekend was a highlight of exactly why they're doing so well. And I think they deserve it because it is the performance of the season so far across the Premier League.
If anybody watches this next week and sees Wayne on it, it's because Tom's been sacked.
What can I say? Hey, look, I'd love to give it to Ruud. You know I would, but
No. Don't imagine for a moment that I'm going to clip that bit and put it up on its own for everybody to see.
Please do, like when I predicted Tottenham 4, Leicester 0, mate.
Right. So, in fairness, it's only my opinion. It's your award to give, and it goes to Areola from Bournemouth. And well done to Bournemouth, 5-0. It was a good result there, and 3 very good. All 3 nominations deserved. Let's just say that. Here's your other one at the other end of the scale, Tom's Terrible Trophy. I struggled to get all these T's out, you see. That was why Trump appeared. But Tom's Terrible Trophy, your 3 clangers, disasters of the week. I know where one of these might be going.
Yeah, we got three different things for this one, Chris. Right. One of them is going to be a bit left field, but I want to bring attention to it because it's the thing of football that winds me up the most. So I'm giving the nomination to Lucas Paqueta of West Ham United. Because if you watch back that game, I'd said they were basically being bastards in that game. They were being really difficult. He was diving. He threw himself down in the penalty area after a little tap from Lucas Digne, made a massive fuss about it, and they looked on VAR and they could see he dived. I think he should have been booked, and he wasn't, because he obviously dived, and he carried on to do things like it for the entire rest of the game. And he's someone who in the past has already been charged with certain things and caught out for doing certain things, which are lower vibrational behaviours of a footballer. So I want to call him out for it, because I think when you look at other players who've been like this, who some of them play at Manchester United, for example, they can change their ways and they can be better than that. And he's choosing not to be. I think if you play the game that way, you deserve to have the highlight put on you. So he's been nominated because I don't like to see people throwing themselves on the ground. It makes me love ice hockey, because if you did that, they'd punch you in the face. Anyway, second nomination, we got to do it. Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. I didn't know whether to go for Levy, to go for Ange, to go for players. I'm calling it on the football club. Whatever's going on there, you've got to be in some serious trouble, because I'm not trying to talk down Leicester here. I think we did turn up and put in a good account of ourselves, but you've got to be winning this game, especially when you're getting down towards the bottom. And the energy there, Chris, is concerning, very concerning, because they're all over the shop. And the third one, I am going to do it, even though I don't agree with the pile-on he's got directly on social media, Michael Oliver. And I'm not doing it to create more of a pile-on. I want to say that now. I'm doing it because it needs to be brought to attention for a man of his standard of Premier League refereeing. He had a very bad game. And there was a lot of ego involved in what he was doing, which is probably not to defend how people behave, because they shouldn't behave like it. But sometimes you don't help yourself, and you've got to help yourself a little bit. And I don't think he had a very good game. I think he antagonized both sets of fans and ended up pretty much damaging the game. I think the result ended up correct, luckily, but other days it could ruin a football match entirely, and you can't be doing it nowadays in football. So, yeah, controversial ones here, Chris, I think. So, Lucas Paqueta, Tottenham Hotspur, and Michael Oliver, and all for different reasons.
I've got to say, going straight to the Tottenham Hotspur one, Wayne sent me a thing, and I've seen a few, and I can't save it. He sent it. It's a clip of a West Ham channel going into meltdown at the 2-1, and I've seen a few of those.
Oh, the Tottenham one, I've seen that. Yeah,
yeah. He sent it me on X, and you're not allowed to download videos off X, unfortunately. So I don't know if Wayne has very, very quickly, within 2 seconds, can send it me on WhatsApp, and I can download it. But yeah, Spurs. One of the fan players, and I understand why he said it. He said, "We've got to be winning games like this."
Yeah.
And even the Brighton manager said it, Hurlitz or whatever he's called, on Match of the Day too. I think they were the words he used as well. Tottenham should be winning games like this. And yes, when you look at it, you should. Where does the blame lie there? Is it Ange? Is it Levy? Is it other people? It's hard to do. The lines are so blurred, aren't they?
Exactly.
So it's hard to do it. I hate diving.
Yeah,
I really, really do. I honestly think that VAR should be used. Look, we're watching games, and they are looking back at a lot of different things. But let's say, even on a Monday morning, like this morning, they say, right, the 10 guys that were on VAR, you go back and you watch that match and you check all the all for the fouls and whether it was a dive, and look out for cheating. And if you deem that somebody like Paqueta dived, then they'll get a yellow card.
Exactly.
Not a red card, because it should have been a red card if it was seen in the match, maybe. But, see if it's a yellow card. And again, if, all red cards are checked at the time. So they may look at that and go, yeah, it's a yellow card. And you know what? They'll give him a yellow card, and those cards will add up, and eventually Paqueta will miss a match.
Exactly.
And Potter will go along and go, for fuck's sake, rein it in, will you? Because, it's costing us. But it won't. It won't, unfortunately. Michael Oliver, I might have been more tempted with this one if you'd maybe said the PGMOL rather than one referee.
They could win the whole season, Chris, couldn't they? If we do an end of season one, we might put them up for that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think you've got an idea and it's bad. And sometimes I do feel we do blame the referee. It's very easy to blame the referee, isn't it? Oh, we lost the game, it's because of the referee. I don't know if I can go for Michael Oliver as much as I want to.
I get your thought process because it's kind of like it could be bigger than that. It could be bigger than one individual. I appreciate that,
yes,
Chris.
it can. And we do know. Look at Paqueta, and I'm going to actually tie in Paqueta with Michael Oliver because they've got to make a quick decision. And yes, they'll get it wrong, and sometimes they get it stupidly wrong, and that's the annoying thing. You don't mind them getting it wrong, but stupidly wrong sometimes. And how often do we see players trying to fool the referees?
Exactly. Very good point. They do it a lot.
Do you remember, what was he called at Burnley when he got injured off the pitch and he squashed his arse back onto the pitch so that the game stopped? And the referee wasn't looking. It didn't seem, he just thought, oh, he's on the pitch. I better stop the game. So I'm going to go for Paqueta because I can't stand diving. It is a form of cheating. And we all know that Paqueta does like to cheat and break the rules, don't we? So I've gone for Paqueta.
And he's a very talented player who doesn't necessarily need to do it, which is what annoys me even more. And you're right, Chris, he has won it this week. I didn't want to jump on Spurs too much. I didn't want to jump on Michael Oliver anymore. But it does need to be brought to the attention, what was going on with those two. But no, Lucas Paqueta will win because, honestly, mate, if you go back and watch it, it was that bad of a dive and that much of a kicking off. I think he could have got sent off because he created such a stink about nothing that it was that embarrassing, and he went through minutes of VAR checks. I think he could have been given a red card for dissent because he literally play acted. It was hideous, and he's got to stop it because it will cost his team points.
Indeed, he will. I'm glad you have highlighted him. To be honest with you, there.
I will always call this out, as you know, mate. Unfortunately, if I spot this in a weekend, you know my integrity. I'll go for you. So Premier League, watch out. Tom is watching.
Otherwise known as stalking, but we will move on from that very quickly. But yes, I could say I hate. To me, it is cheating, unless of course it's Jamie Vardy when it's totally allowed. And I have to say, I was disappointed that for the good award that you didn't go for Jamie Vardy, reminding the Tottenham fans how many Premier League trophies he's won.
Yeah, exactly. Chris, I normally would, but we've not got a lot to shout about beyond 3 points there. Give it to the end of the season and we can shout about it if we stay up. Let's not get carried away.
Wayne says, haha, Tom's BDI scanning. We're going to leave and look at the table just quickly before we go. Liverpool top, like I say, Arsenal, Forest still in third, City fourth, Newcastle fifth, Chelsea seventh. But then fair play to Bournemouth, Villa struggling being in Europe, Brighton and Fulham, Brentford, I think, all kind of falling away a little bit. At the bottom, it does look doomed for Southampton, Ipswich, Wolves, Leicester. Would you say two from those three, or would you include the likes of Everton, Spurs, West Ham and Palace?
Fully depends on next week, Chris. I mean, I don't think you can write any of them being out of it quite yet. I mean, the decision I made about Palace and West Ham is just because I think what we're seeing on the pitch, they're not going to throw away enough points yet. I think it is going to be us 3 from 4 or whatever it is, 2 from 3. Sorry, you're right. Southampton have gone. I think it will be Leicester, Wolves or Ipswich.
That makes it tighter than the duck's arse, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I'm wrong, mate, and hopefully we beat Everton next week. But it's a sort of game with Moyes turning up there fresh that we might only get a point from, and a point might not be enough to drag them back into it. I think they'd be happy with a point in those circumstances.
Are we? Is it a 3 o'clock Saturday kickoff?
Oh yes, I'll be with you, won't I? If Brad's not around.
You're with me. It's yours. You're permanent on it now, anyway.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, cool, sweet. Yeah. Tell me when it is, or I might forget.
I don't know. No, it's 3 o'clock on a Saturday.
Ideal. Oh, next Saturday then. Yeah.
Yes, next Saturday at 3 o'clock, and we will be back for that. Tom, as always, thank you very, very much indeed. Very, very insightful. Just to show, look, we can look smart. allegedly.
This show's also available on podcast for those of you who don't want to look at us. I'm sure Chris will fill in all the rest of the details. But thank you, chat, for having me as usual.
No, you are more than welcome. And as you did point out, yes, it is on podcast. So catch it on that if you want to catch up, or catch up on YouTube if you come in late. Tom, thanks a lot, mate. I will see you on Saturday. Do take care, and thank you very much, and all the best.
My pleasure. Thanks, everyone. See you soon. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Thanks for popping in and chatting and joining in. Take care.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You'd better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.